The obligation of activity. How do animals get fit and what takes them over the hill? We humans become physically fitter in response to activity. We know this from our own experiences, backed up by a plethora of research from sports science that has provided much physiological detail on the matter. We also know, however, that excessive exercise leads to chronic fatigue and reduced immunocompetence. What we know much less about is, how do these phenomena translate to the rest of the animal kingdom? There is a growing discussion in the literature about whether some animal species might need to undertake voluntary activity to keep fit. The argument goes that involuntary activities of some animals, those activities that those animals have to undertake on a daily basis, may not be sufficient to maintain optimal physical conditioning necessary for infrequent but super crucial actions by those animals, such as escaping from predators. For other species, their capacity to forage might be substantially reduced after long-term periods of fasting or torpor or hibernation. If there are indeed species that undertake voluntary activity to boost physical capacity during certain periods of their lives, analogous to people going to the gym or riding their bike around the park, then this behaviour will have implications for the time and energy budgets of those animals. In parallel, there is an ever-growing literature on animal senescence. This includes the study of how activity levels change with age, and whether high-intensity activity can accelerate the aging process. And there is a fascinating twist to animal senescence termed terminal improvement, a last hurrah as some animals seemingly upregulate their physiology as they sense death approaching. So activity is at once essential for an animal's ecology, yet at the same time may need to be supplemented to ensure the animal maintains optimal body condition, while too much activity for too long may be harmful in the short or the long term. To shine some light on this intriguing and complex patchwork of trade-offs that surround animal exercise, this session on the obligation of activity promises talks from researchers from around the world who are working right now on these biological questions. Dr. Carl Salisbury at the University of Lincoln is developing an international reputation for his work on aging and senescence in a host of model species, including male black grouse, which effectively leck themselves to death during a lifelong struggle to attract females. Complementing Carl's perspective, Dr. Hannah Froy of the University of Edinburgh will be talking about the aforementioned phenomenon of terminal improvement, which she has studied also in bird species. Dr. Kevin Matson is based at Wageningen University and has made his name investigating how immunological differences stem from inhabiting islands versus continents, or the tropics versus temperate areas. Recent work on animal athletes, in particular homing pigeons, has now expanded his interests in immunology towards its relationship with physical activity, and he'll be broaching this topic during the session. And finally, Dr. Simon Babian, who works at the University of Glasgow, studies how the immune system integrates real-world variation in disease history, pathogen diversity, and resource availability, and how such variation impacts the likelihood of success of therapeutic and prophylactic interventions. This symposium, The Obligation of Activity, How Do Animals Get Fit, and What Takes Them Over the Hill, is building up to be a fascinating and enlightening session. Please do join us. Submit an abstract to the session before the 21st of April deadline if you are interested in speaking, and either way we look forward to seeing you at this all-day session on the 4th of July in Gothenburg.